Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we're continuing to move forward through yet another offseason together. As always, you can find our 100% free 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars each day when you follow us on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast, and happy game day to everybody. Now, with our last podcast before week one officially kicks off for the rest of the NFL, outside of obviously the Eagles, Cowboys, Chiefs, and Chargers, we are going to go division by division and give my quick thoughts on who I think will leave each division as the winner. Now, obviously, there is a precedent that has been set through several divisions in the NFL. There are some teams that completely overhauled themselves this offseason. There's some teams that had to completely start from scratch, and it, to me, is still one of the more chalky kind of seasons. You can kind of see, I think, early on who's going to lead where, etc. Who are these top teams? Who are the teams that, might struggle? But nonetheless, I am fascinated to see how the 2025 season plays out, not just in Jacksonville and not just in the AFC South, but throughout the rest of the NFL, really at large and as a whole. So without further ado, here we go. Starting off with the AFC East, this one's obvious. There's not much competition to me in this division. The Buffalo Bills are the obvious winner. I kind of like the New England Patriots as the second best team, though. I am out on the Miami Dolphins. I think that Mike McDaniel, the string has just kind of ran out there. The advantages they found offensively and scheme-wise just don't seem to be there anymore. They're really weak in the offensive line. Their secondary might be, the worst in the NFL, at least at cornerback, and I am not a Tua believer at all. So I have the Bills winning the division, Patriots at second. I'll go with the New York Jets at third, but I don't think they'll be that much better than Miami. I love Justin Fields coming out, but it's pretty clear now that you can't rely on, Justin Fields to be a consistent drop back passer and have a passing game that week in and week out can be productive for you. AFC North, I have the Baltimore Ravens winning this division for, once again, consecutive wins. I love Baltimore as a Super Bowl pick. I think they're once again going to be one of the best teams in football during the regular season. It's just, can they get it together in the postseason? Can they, turn that regular season dominance into playoff success? Because they have failed to, for the last several years, really. There have been some games where it comes down to one play, some games where they've gotten outclassed, etc. I truly believe that this is the year the Ravens roster is so, balanced and developed that this could be the year they make an impact. I have the Bengals finishing second, the Steelers finishing third, and the Cleveland Browns finishing last. I think the Browns will finish with a top 3 pick. The AFC West, I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning it. I don't know if I'd say that I think the NFC West is maybe as intimidating as others. Like, I concede that the Chargers and Broncos are decent teams. But for the Broncos, I'm not a Bo Nix believer. I don't think he raises the ceiling. I think Sean Payton did a good job of making things easy on him and kind of hiding him last year. I don't think the Broncos can make that happen enough times in a 7-game season to potentially leave, as division winners. The Chargers, I love Justin Herbert. Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, but it just seems like they're missing more and more blue chips each year. And, of course, losing Rashawn Slater will do them no good whatsoever. And then, finally, the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that they'll be spunky this year and that they'll be better under Pete Carroll, but still another offseason or two away. Now, I will get to the AFC South, but I'm going to do them last. So NFC East, I have the Eagles winning the division again. I think the Eagles, they have some defensive question marks. Who's their number 2 corner? Jalen Carter obviously needs to stay on the field and in the game because their defense really seems like it's predicated on him to have some success. But I just, the Eagles have done this thing so consistently and so well over the last few years that I think the Eagles are pretty far and away the best team in that division. I had the Commanders finishing second. I don't love the Commanders this year. I definitely don't think that, if they go 12-5 again this season, I wouldn't think that would have to do as much with, I'd say what teams have prepared for from what they saw last year. I do think that there's a lot of tape out there on the Commanders now, and a lot of times you see second-year quarterbacks struggle when that happens. I don't expect that to be the case with Jaden Daniels, but I think it's at least worth examining. Cowboys finishing third, and I think the Giants will pick top 5. I do not have any faith in the Giants. The NFC North, I have the Green Bay Packers winning. I think them and the Vikings are the clear 1 and 2. Detroit Lions third. I could see them having like a 9-8 level season just because they lost Ben Johnson, and it is a significant loss because he had people thinking Jared Goff was an MVP candidate. I'm not sure Chad Morton, if he'll bring that same kind of aspect to their offense. I think that definitely remains to be seen. But right now, I like the other teams more. I do like the Lions more than the Chicago Bears, so I think we'll have 6 to 7, wins by the time you really call this thing at the end of the year. I'm sure people will react rationally to that. The NFC South, this one is incredibly easy. I have the Carolina Panthers running away with the division. Now, will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Will the Buccaneers be a great team? That remains to be seen. But I do think that they can be a good team, even without Liam Cohen. And I just, the rest of the NFC South, to me, I don't like the Falcons' prospects this season. I don't like the Saints' prospects this season. And then the Panthers, I know they're everybody's favorite, up-and-coming team. And, they might, be a playoff-worthy, team, etc., yada, yada, yada. I don't believe that. I am very low on the Panthers and on Bryce Young in general. But hey, Jaguars played them Sunday, so we'll find out just how wrong or accurate I am. I mean, if Bryce Young struggles against the Jaguars and their defense, and it's really first game under the new scheme, that will say a lot. NFC West, I think you have to have the Chargers winning there. I think I can definitely see a scenario where 3 of the top 4 teams make the playoffs. I think Arizona has to, go and take on Seattle and really get that upper edge. Same, obviously, with San Francisco. San Francisco's dealt with so many injuries the last few years, and even this year that, it's fair to question, just how prepared are they for, the season on hand and to kind of get back on track, because that's what they need. The 49ers need to get back on track. Brock Purdy, he's not the worst quarterback in the NFL, obviously, like I've sometimes praised, but I also don't think he's one of the best. I think he's about middle tier, and I think that, now that he has the new contract, he'll be playing even more fiery. I think that ultimately, though, the Rams win that division, Seahawks behind them, 49ers, and then Cardinals. Lastly, the AFC South, I have the Tennessee Titans finishing 4th, maybe by a game or so. I don't think the Tennessee Titans will be that far, ahead of really any team, throughout the NFL. I mean, they just finished with the number 1 pick. They had an awful year. They added some intriguing pieces, but it's hard to imagine Titans will be ahead of many teams. I think this time next year, though, I'll be picking them as 3rd and over the Indianapolis Colts. I just think the Colts have kind of been an unmitigated mess. I don't see anything happening with the Colts this year. Jaguars and Houston Texans. Who's second and who's first? That is a fascinating question to me. I'm going to go Jaguars first because I think that they can sneak a Week 3 win, over Houston with all the injuries that Houston has. But I can see it going either way. I can see it being Jacksonville. I can see it being Houston. Both have good quarterbacks. Both have some exciting players on defense, and the Jaguars now hope that they have their head coach. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. We'll be back next time.